In today's video, I am going to be showing you how to make this candy heart sugar skull motif. Now, this particular tutorial was the very first tutorial I actually showed on my channel when I first started it a couple of years ago. This was the first real crochet pattern that I designed and made, and so since I've learned quite a bit, I decided it was time to update this particular tutorial. I've had other tutorials that I'm in the process of updating as well, but this was the next on the list. So with all that said, let me give a warm welcome to all my Weaving Weird siblings, weirdlings, and just fun people. For those of you who aren't in the know, my name is Sid. I'm a retired tattoo artist turned fiber artist and crocheter. And here on my channel, you and I get to create a little magic with every knot. So don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons. This doesn't cost you anything, but it does help me provide you with regular tutorials featuring original designs like this, classic patterns, lacy motifs. I'm always interested in your feedback, and so please feel free to leave your comments and questions below. All right, let's just go ahead and get started. So for today's video, you are going to want to have at least 4 different colorways. Now here I am using crochet thread, size 10. This all is the Aunt Lydia's brand, but there are several other brands out there you can purchase. You can also use other yarns. Just make sure that the yarn or the thread you use is all one consistent size, and you use an appropriate size hook with it. But for the purposes of this video, and this particular applique piece, I will be using these 4 main colorways. I'll be using the white, the black. I'm using I think they call it a wasabi green, and then this variegated pink. Also, since I am using a crochet thread, I'm going to be using a number 4 size steel hook, a 1.5 millimeter hook, a pair of scissors, and then I'll also have a tapestry needle for weaving in my ends. Okay, let's just go ahead and get started then. Okay, so before we get started, I do want to make sure that you understand that this design is worked mostly in the round, but there are a few twists, turns, and stitches that make this piece more intermediate than beginner. However, I will do my best to break this down into easy to follow steps in an effort to make this as unconfusing as possible. So I'm going to start with my white because, well, we're starting in the center, which is the skull. And I'm going to start off by making a chain of 12 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a slip stitch into that first chain so that I make a ring. And then I'm going to chain 12 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then I'm going to go back to that very first chain, and I'm going to make another slip stitch right in there. So now I have the eye sockets. I'm going to move on to row 2. And for this, do not turn, simply chain 1. And then in the first 12 chain loop, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to single crochet 24. So 1, 2, 3, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And then the next thing I want to do is place 24 single crochets into the next 12 chain loop. So again, 1, 2, and once I've completed my 24 single crochets in that second 12 chain loop, I'm going to go ahead and in the very first single crochet that I made, I'm going to join with a slip stitch. So moving on to row 3, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch in the next 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to single crochet in the next 30 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Then I want to chain 1 and I want to turn my work, and I'm going to now begin row 4. Now for row 4, what I want to do is I want to place a single crochet, not in my turning chain stitch, but in the second crochet from my hook, single crochet from my hook. And then I'm going to single crochet an additional 7 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. So then what I want to do next is I want to skip the next 2 single crochets, and then I want to single crochet 8. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then 8. So far your piece should look like this. Next I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to turn my work so I can start row 5. So I'm going to begin in the second single crochet from my hook with a single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet 14. So 1, 2, 13, and 14. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to begin row 6. And then again, I'm going to place a single crochet into the second single crochet from my hook, and then I'm going to single crochet 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, and 12. Again, I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn my work. Then in the second single crochet from my hook, I'm going to place my first single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet 10. So again, 1, 2, 9, and 10. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and then I'm going to begin row 8. Now for row 8, again, I'm going to place my first single crochet in the second single crochet from my hook. And then I'm going to single crochet 8. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then 8. Chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to begin row 9. Now for row 9, I want to place my first single crochet into the second single crochet from my hook. Then I want to single crochet 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now what I want to do is I want to single crochet 8 evenly across the next 5 rows. So I'm still going to be working in the same direction as before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to evenly crochet 8 single crochets. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Just like so, evenly right across that edge of the skull there. And then I want to single crochet in the next 10 single crochets. So my next 10 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you can see the skull is starting to take some kind of shape. Next, I want to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I want to skip 8 single crochets. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to slip stitch right here into this next single crochet to make my nose hole, my nose opening. And then I want to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, so once I've chained 3, I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to begin row 10. This chain 3 is going to count as my first double crochet. And then what I want to do is I want to place 7 more double crochets into this 4 chain space. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 'So I've got 1 chain 3 and 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Next, I want to chain 1 and I want to turn my work. And then I want to place a single crochet in each of the next stitches. 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. I am then going to slip stitch 3 along this edge right here. So I'm going to have 1, 2, and then right in here, my third one. Next, I want to single crochet in the next 10 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you can see we're starting to work our way up the other side. Then I want to evenly single crochet 8 up along this 5-row edge. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to fasten off with a slip stitch right here. at the top edge of row 9. And so far your piece should look something like this, and we're going to get ready to make a color change. So now at this point, we're going to move over to a new color, and we're going to start working in the round. So I'm using black, and there's going to be one round of this particular colorway of this black, at least for the moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie right into that single crochet that I finished off the white with. So basically I'm going to start in the first single crochet of row 9. I'm going to tie in, I'm going to chain 1, and then I am going to place a single crochet into that same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 22 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. Now, once I've completed my 22 single crochets, it brings me right down here to just the underside cheek of my skull, which is basically 3 stitches left. And so in the next stitch, I am going to place a half double crochet. In the stitch after that, I'm going to place a double crochet. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to place a treble crochet. So then next, I'm going to come up here at the base of the teeth, basically the mouth of my skull. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single crochet in each one of these stitches. So I'm going to have 8 single crochets across the front of my skull. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So this is what you should have so far. So next I'm going to jump back down here to these next 3 stitches. That's right here at the base of the cheek of the other side of my skull. And then I'm going to, in that next stitch right here, I am going to place a treble crochet. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to place a double crochet. And then in the stitch after that, I'm going to place a half double crochet. Just like so. So next I'm going to single crochet 17. 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, and 17. So at this point, I'm going to join with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to fasten off my black. That'll be the completion of row, or if you prefer to call it round 12, since we're working in the round now. So basically step 12. And at this point, I'm going to fasten off and I'm going to move over to my next colorway, which is going to be this wasabi green colorway. Okay, so now for this one, I'm going to begin in the very first single crochet of round 12. And so that's going to put me right about here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tie in my new color. So the very first stitch of round 12, which is where you've joined at the end of round 12. Next, after I place my first single crochet in that same stitch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place a single crochet in each of the stitches for round 13. Now that'll give me another 53 stitches. So when I've completed round 13, I will have 54 single crochets. And then after that, the next stitch will be to join into that first single crochet of round 13. So let's begin. So I've got my first single crochet. I'm going to start 2, 3, 4, 51, 52, 53, and 54. And now I'm going to go ahead and join into that first single crochet of round 13. So that's what my piece looks like so far, and yours should look like something similar. Now we're moving on to round 14. And for round 14, I'm going to chain 1. And then in the next single crochet, I'm going to make a single crochet. Now, the following sequence of stitches, I'm going to do those 4 times. So the sequence of stitches starts like this. I'm going to begin with a half double crochet in the next stitch. I'm going to place a double crochet in the stitch after that. Now in this next stitch, I'm going to place 3 stitches, and those stitches are going to be a double crochet plus a treble crochet plus a double crochet. Next, I'm going to place a double crochet in the next stitch, and then a half double crochet in the stitch after that. And then I'm going to single crochet 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to start that sequence of stitches all over again. So I'm going to begin with a half double crochet in the next stitch, a double crochet in the stitch after that. And then that next stitch, I'm going to place the 3 stitches, which are going to include a double crochet plus a treble crochet plus another double crochet. And then the next stitch is going to be a double crochet. And the stitch after that is going to be a half double crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to start that sequence all over again. I'm going to repeat that sequence 2 more times to complete round 14. So now before I can move on to round 15, what I'm going to need to do is slip stitch right here into the first single crochet of round 14. So your piece should look something like this so far. Now for round 15, I'm going to begin by making a chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 9 stitches. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 9. Then I'm going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next, I'm going to skip the next 4 single crochets, and then I'm going to single crochet 44 times. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 41, 42, 43, and 44. Then I'm going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to skip 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to place a single crochet right here into the next stitch. So now once I've made my single crochet, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet of round 15, and this is where I'm going to fasten off, but I'm still going to continue to use the same colorway. So your piece should look something like this. So now it's time to move on to round 16. And for round 16, next 3 rounds or so, things are going to get a little different, so you're really going to need to pay attention. I'm going to begin round 16 in the 3rd single crochet from my chain 6 space. So that's going to be this single crochet right here. And this is where I'm going to tie in my wasabi green thread. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to double crochet 12 right here into this chain 6 space. So I've got my 1 and 2, 3, and 12. So you can see I started on the right side of my work with my work facing me, and I've double crocheted my 12 double crochets into that 6 chain space. Next, I'm going to single crochet in the next 10 stitches. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10. Now, for those of you who don't know these little extra bits, I typically weave my tails in as I work along. So you can either do that yourself or you can do it when your piece is finished. It's all entirely up to you. It's, personal preference is really what it comes down to. So now I'm back to my next 6 chain space, and what I want to do is I want to go ahead and place 12 double crochets into that space, just like before. So 1, 2, 3, and 12. Now next I'm going to skip the next 2 single crochets and I am going to slip stitch into the stitch after that. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the next 3 stitches. So it's 1, 2, and then my last slip stitch. So that's a total of 4 slip stitches. I'm going to chain 1. So far the work looks like this. Then I'm going to turn my work like this. And I am going to begin my next step, which is going to be 17. And technically it's going to be a row, like I guess 16 was technically a row. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a treble into that next double crochet. Just like that. And then I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to place another treble into the next double crochet. So I'm going to basically do this for each double crochet. I'm going to chain 1 and then place a treble into that next double crochet until I've completed all 12 of the double crochets. Now once I've completed all 12 of my treble crochets plus a chain, I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to skip the next 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the stitch after that. Next, I'm going to make a treble into that very first, or rather next double crochet. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to repeat that 11 more times until I have a total of 12 trebles plus 1 chain. So again, next treble crochet plus a chain 1. Then the next double crochet, I'm going to place my treble crochet plus a chain 1. Meet you right back here when I've completed all 12 of these trebles. Now that I've completed my 12 treble crochets plus a chain 1, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to skip the next 3 single crochets, and I'm going to place a slip stitch right there. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. So far you should have a piece that looks like this. So now this time we're actually going to do a round. So 18, step 18 is going to be round 18. And basically what I'm going to do is I am going to single crochet in the next 65 stitches. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So now once you've completed your 65 single crochets, you're going to be right down here at the bottom of your heart, right here at this point. And in that point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to single crochet 3 into that same stitch. Just like that, to give us a nice little point at the bottom of the heart. And then I'm going to single crochet 14. So 1, 2, so now that I've completed my next single crochets, it's brought me back here to where I began. And from here, I'm simply going to slip stitch into that last stitch. And that is where I'm going to go ahead and fasten off my green. And then we're going to move over to the next color, which in my case is going to be black. So now I have my black thread, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it right there into that very first single crochet that I made from round 18. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to place a single crochet into that same stitch. And then I'm going to place a single crochet in each stitch after that until I've completed round 19. So I'm simply just going to single crochet all the way around. Now once I've completed that round, I'm going to go ahead and I am simply going to join in my very first single crochet of round 19. So now as I begin round 20, I'm going to start by making a chain 4. And then this next step, I'm going to repeat 11 times. And so this sequence is going to be, I'm going to skip the next stitch, and then I'm going to double crochet into the stitch after that. And then I'm going to chain 2. So now I'm going to repeat this 10 more times. I'm going to skip the next stitch. I'm going to double crochet in the stitch after that. And then I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to do that 9 more times. So now that you've completed that sequence 11 times, your piece should look like this so far. And then I'm going to go ahead, and of course we're going to skip that next single crochet, and I'm going to place a double crochet into the next stitch. And then I'm going to skip the next 2 single crochets, and I'm going to place a double crochet into the stitch after those. So now you can kind of see what I got going on here. And I'm going to start the sequence again. But this time, I'm going to begin it with this double crochet that we just made. So that'll be the double crochet plus the 2 chains are going to be the first in the sequence. And then I want to do that 20 more times. So I'm going to repeat this double crochet plus 2 chains 20 more times to give me a total of 21 times at this juncture. So we've got the 1, this is 2, 3. So now that I've completed that sequence 21 more times, it has taken me right down here to the point of my heart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double crochet into that same stitch that I placed my last double crochet into. So now you should have something that looks like this. Then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to skip the next stitch, and then I'm going to place a double crochet right into that next stitch. And I'm going to chain 2, I'm going to skip a stitch, and I'm going to continue to follow the sequence until I have completed my round. So now once I've completed the sequence, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to slip stitch in the second chain of the 4 chains that I started with to complete round 20. So far this is what my work looks like, and yours should look something similar. Now I'm going to work on round 21. And round 21 is the last round that we do before we block our work and move on to the final piece of this. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with a chain 1. And then I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. So then what I'm going to do is, after I've made my single crochet in that same space, I'm going to make a 3 chain picot. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next space, next 2 chain space. And then in my next double crochet, I'm going to single crochet, and I'm going to make a 3 chain picot. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 chain space. And we can continue doing this all the way around. So in the next double crochet, I'm going to make a single crochet plus a 3 chain picot. Now, for those of you who don't know how to make a picot, a 3 chain picot is just to go ahead and chain 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch right here into these 2 bars of my single crochet. And then that gives me my picot. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 chain space. And I'm going to continue that all the way around until I've completed round 20. Now, once you've blocked your work, your piece should look something like this. And then next we're going to move on to the bow. So since the bow is really just basically a straightforward, simple square, I'm going to just go ahead and put the instructions for the stitch count of the swatch needed for the bow right here. And you can go and just make that on your own. You don't really need my instruction to do that. But once you've completed your swatch and you have this little rectangular shape, you're going to take your thread, basically, and you're just going to wrap it around the center of this bow, just to make the center part of your bow. It's very simple. You're going to wrap it around a few times. You're going to decide which part of your skull you like it best on, and then you're going to sew it in place. Okay, so I'd just like to thank you for joining me today. It was my pleasure to bring you this tutorial. It was fun. It was nice to revisit it and do it as an update. So until we meet again, stay creative, stay amazing, and always weave your own Wyrd. Bye-bye now.